Yo, ladies and gentlemen, we are back again with another interesting Jay Slater video. Today, we're going to be looking at a compilation of videos that are going to make you question everything. Let's check this out.
The night, the morning he went missing, basically. That's what you'll get. The night, the morning he went missing, basically. That's what you'll.
So you heard there, he was about to say the night he went missing, ladies and gentlemen. He quickly realized in that moment and switched it to the morning. But it's clear as day, whatever happened to Jay, ladies and gentlemen, happened after coming out of the NRG festival and before getting into Ayub's car. At this moment in time, I don't even feel confident in saying that Jay consciously got into Ayub's car. So what's happened to Jay, ladies and gentlemen? Because that's more or less where we're at with this case. I feel like we've got a number of dots that pinpoint foul play. We've got a number of dots that connect in terms of there being a full-blown cover-up. And that cover-up started when that video was posted of Ayub driving the car and writing across the screen saying, "I've just stolen a Rolex with this Marley kid, off to sell it for 10 quid. And I think they say I'm off my undies in that message. But then later comes the second version of the same message. But this time we've got what looks like to be a beaten up Jay in the back of a car with a similar message, but some of the words have been changed. The two most important things that have been changed in that message was the Rolex being changed to AP and this Somali kid being changed to two Somali kids. And most of us will be aware that Ayub is a fabricator. A couple of months ago, he tried to fabricate a fake police statement, making it look like I was some sort of snitch. He basically found my name, found a police station in my local area, which doesn't even operate as a police station, and this is where he was found out. It was just pure fabrication, and it more or less gave my theory legs to stand on, because I believe that Ayub is responsible for fabricating most of this story, making it look like Jay went to the Airbnb alive and left alive. You then have Brandon supporting Jay leaving the Airbnb narrative, making it look like he spoke to Jay whilst Jay left that Airbnb. Yeah, Jay was fine when he left that Airbnb. Everything was hunky-dory. The last thing Jay told me is that he walked off road, and that was the last time I spoke to Jay. You then have Lucy painting the conspiracy narrative, making it look like Jay was losing the plot. He told me he was on a mission that night. Then all of a sudden, he's stolen a Rolex. He's gone to the Airbnb with these two strangers. And this guy, Josh Forshaw, who I don't know, but he wouldn't make this up, he told me that Jay sent him a video with two knives stuffed down his trousers and said, just in case it kicks off. So Lucy was really behind the scenes plotting and driving the narrative of Jay losing his mind. Don't know what he's doing. He went off with these two strangers and I have no idea on what he got up to prior to going off with these two strangers. But if he ripped that message on his Snapchat, then he wouldn't have made it up. Again, she's endorsing the conspiracy. She's making it look like Jay was involved in whatever fabricated story these guys come together and painted. My slight concern is with Brad, because I feel like Brad knows more than he's telling. After about a week or so, Brad done the interview with Isla and he more or less come out and corroborated Brandon's side of the story, which more or less corroborates Ayub's side of the story, because he's basically saying that he spoke to Jay whilst he was in the mountains, which means he left the Airbnb, which means when Brandon said that he was walking up the road the wrong way, basically, that shit must have been true because Brad spoke to him whilst he was in the mountains, which then means Brad is more or less taking on the full responsibility of being the last person to have spoken to Jay. Now, why would he have done that if he didn't speak to Jay? Was he pressured into doing that? Some may say it took Brad 11, 12 days to come out and do that interview. But who's to say Brad wasn't engaging with the people that he needed to be engaging with prior to doing that interview? It's just that we never heard anything from Brad, so people made that assumption. Why would Brad have done that at that point? Is it because it was just dragging out? Is he just bullshit lying because he knows this is dragging out? The family just want to bring their son back. They want to bring their friend back. So let me just do this interview so I can kind of indicate where to search in hope that they find him sooner rather than later and we can get this all done and dusted with. Is that the thought process behind Brad doing the interview? Did someone convince him to think that way? I don't know. At this point, we still don't know what actually happened to Jay if we believe he passed away before getting to the Airbnb, because that's my belief. I believe that Jay passed away before getting to the Airbnb. Whatever happened to Jay happened in between the hours of 2 o'clock in the morning to about 4 o'clock. Those hours are so crucial. And it ties in with the weird messages that were sent back and forth between Jay and Brandon. Got to think the bank account situation where Jay's bank declines twice. This is only 4 or 5 hours before 2 o'clock in the morning. We then hear that Jay doesn't read the message that Brandon sent him only 20 minutes after his bank declined, which basically said get me that 2-ton out as well. That message more or less implies that Jay has gone somewhere to withdraw money. But then later on that night, we see Jay and Brandon together. So did they have a conversation about the 2-ton? Because if Jay didn't read that message until the following morning, we're talking about around the times he would have been at the Airbnb. It means Brandon and Jay at some point must have had a conversation about that 2-ton. How did that conversation go? What was that 2-ton for? Why did Jay's bank decline? Why was Jay's bank frozen? Why did Jay feel like someone put a marker on him hours after all of this happened? Not forgetting the other message that lady mentioned about everything that I've done for you. I've looked after you for years. I mean, that sounds like betrayal. These messages that happened prior to Jay going to Masca are extremely alarming for the simple fact that no one is looking at that to say, actually, foul play could have taken place just based on these messages alone, regardless if we believe Brandon and Jay are friends, because I know a load of friends that have turned on each other, gone to absolute war to the point where people have been put in the ground. So for the simple fact that these messages are being totally ignored, again, is extremely alarming. This is a message that Brad put on Facebook last year in regards to that grainy looking image of Jay. Now, based on this image, ladies and gentlemen, no one could be sure if that's Jay. It does kind of look like what Jay was wearing, but again, there's not enough there to prove that's actually Jay. Brad responds to this message and he actually says, only picture I've seen of what looks like him, same bag and grey set, has to be. Alvin Cook seems to be one of their friends. He says, my honest truth, it looks like him, bro. Bag on as well. The figure just looks like Jay, and anyone who knows Jay like us could agree with that, bro. Let's just hope the best. Fingers crossed he's found today. Now, what's extremely weird, ladies and gentlemen, is when Isla responded to comments that she was getting on her TikTok account off the back of her doing her interview with Brad, she basically said that this grainy image was Brad. I'm pretty sure she said something along the lines of Brad telling her that it was him. And the media and everyone that saw the picture initially got it mixed up and thought it was Jay. Now, this is the only picture that has been published in regards to anyone thinking Jay was here, there, or anywhere. That was the only picture, that grainy picture. So if Brad told Isla that that was him, and Isla confirms that in her video, and the receipts are definitely there, then why is Brad saying this is the only picture I've seen that looks like Jay, more or less? I mean, didn't he look at that initially and say, oh, that was me? And if he didn't, what made him say, oh, that's me? Like, I'm confused. Now, okay, let's move on to this right here, ladies and gentlemen. Josh Forshaw related at the inquest that Jay had drunk 10 to 15 vodka shots that night. We also know that Jay had been drinking Henny that night. We had a video of Jay sipping out of a Henny bottle. He looked like the first person to have been drinking out of that Henny bottle by the looks of the video, but it seemed like it was earlier that night. Some people have actually pinpointed the time to around 9 o'clock that night. So if it was 9 o'clock that night, that would have been around the time where his bank account would have declined. So what I find extremely weird about that video itself is that Jay doesn't actually know he's being filmed. Jay's got his glasses on and he's filming himself drinking out of the Henny bottle. But who's filming him? And why would they be filming him and only him? It's as if the plot is already there. And would Jay be happy? You know, would he be continuing to party if he knew that his bank just declined and he heard that his bank was frozen? Like, would he be still happy to continue partying? Or could it be possible that Jay doesn't even know that his bank account's declining? Could it be possible that someone else has got Jay's card? Is it possible that Jay knows that someone else has got his card? Remember, we got the info from Little Miss Vodka to say that 2 ladies come forward and confirm that they transferred money into Jay's bank account. They gave the sort code and account number, it matched up to Jay's bank account. And that transaction, ladies and gentlemen, would have taken place on the 15th of June, which would have been a day and a half or a day and a bit before this event all took place. So can we say when Jay's being filmed drinking out of the Henny bottle, which is around 8 to 9 o'clock at night, around the time his bank account declines, could we say that Jay doesn't even know his bank account's declined because someone else is using his account? Or is it after that footage Jay finds out that his bank declines? If he does, what does he then do about it? How does the conversation go between him and Brandon? Because he still needs to get the 2-ton out of his account, remember. Even back to the footage of Jay drinking out of the Hennessy bottle, He's being filmed by someone and he doesn't know he's being filmed. Why is that person filming Jay and only Jay? It makes you think that the premeditation was set in stone. They knew that something was going to happen to Jay and they needed to start fabricating the evidence from there. To a degree, I think Jay was blindfolded to it all. He didn't actually know it was coming until the last minute. Now, this guy, Josh, claims Jay drunk 10 to 15 vodka shots. We don't know what time this would have taken place because Josh doesn't confirm that. And although this message basically says, how did Jay afford 10 to 15 vodka shots? Which is a very, very good point because he had no money. According to the guy that's telling us he had 10 to 15 vodka shots, as well as the factual information that we know, Jay's bank account declining, where was he getting the money from? It's very, very valid. But this is where I think someone like Lucy comes into play. And this is where I think the wristbands that they have come into play. So I can hold my hands up and say I've known a number of people that have moved narcotics at festivals. They've been well connected to be able to get the narcotics in the festival and to be able to distribute the narcotics throughout the festival without getting caught. Why? Because they work directly with the event manager. They work directly with the security guards and they wear wristbands, and all they've got to do is show the security guard their wristbands and that instantly tells the security guard that they're in there moving narcotics. This happens here in the UK, ladies and gentlemen. Those wristbands also include free drinks all night. Now, what's extremely weird is we saw Jay wearing 2 wristbands. See, one of those wristbands was an orange wristband, wasn't it? Wasn't it the same wristband that Ayab was seen wearing in a photo? I can't remember seeing anyone else at the NRG festival wearing that wristband, which means that color wristband could have only been given to a small handful of people because that handful of people were in there to do one job and one job only. Now, not everyone wearing the wristband could have been involved in moving the narcotics. It was just that the circle that they're involved in are, and therefore they're eligible to get wristbands. But this is all alleged, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not saying this is true and this is what's actually happened over in Tenerife. It's a very, very interesting but factual point in the world of moving narcotics when it comes to nightclubs and when it comes to festivals. That's how they operate. So that could be a reason as to why, ladies and gentlemen, having one of those wristbands, being a part of a certain collective team within the event allowed Jay to get 10 to 15 vodka shots that evening. Because all he had to do was show his wristband and a bartender would give him shots on the house. That's the only way for me it makes sense as to why Jay may have drunk 10 to 15 vodka shots without having any money. But it also, like this message says, comes into contradiction with Debbie's statement and what she basically said. Having spoke to Jay that he wasn't going to overdo it that night because he wanted to enjoy the rest of his holiday. That makes thousands of people believe that Jay was intentionally spiked that evening. That could lead us back to why they wanted to film Jay drinking out of the Henny bottle, to make it look like Jay was going to have a heavy night. We've got Josh Forshaw, the plant, corroborating Jay's heavy night story by saying he had 10 to 15 vodka shots that night. It was at that point where we see Jay with no top on in the NRG festival, literally intoxicated, incapacitated. His next steps were finding a corner to throw up in and then probably fall into sleep. So it was definitely the perfect time to take advantage of Jay. It was definitely the perfect time to do whatever you wanted to do with Jay. And like I said, it takes us back to the hours of 2 to 4 o'clock in the morning. Whatever happened to Jay, that's when it happened. Because the moment we see Ayab driving in the car with the message going across saying, just stolen a Rolex and I'm with this Somali kid, off to sell it for 10 quid, off my undies, that was the moment whatever happened to Jay had already happened. Right, let's leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. Much appreciate every single one of you. I need to know exactly what you guys are thinking after that one. So leave all of your comments down below in the comment section. Make sure you hit the like button. Do subscribe to the channel if we are newly watching. Turn your notification bells on so you don't miss out on future content. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one.